Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today we're putting the Ontario Rat 1 up against its Ganzo 727M clone. Come on in here a little closer, and we'll get this started. In front of us we have the Ontario Knife Company Rat 1 and the Ganzo 727M. Very similar knives. As far as construction goes, on the Rat we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screw sets holding it together. On the Ganzo we've got 1, 2, 3. Ontario tells us that their handle material is nylon 6. Ganzo says their handle material is G10. I'm not going to argue with either company. Both handle materials seem to work just fine. As we roll the two knives to their back sides, we can see they're both full flow-through designs. Ganzo has 2 pillars in here and they're nicely cut, and the Rat has 4 pillars and a stop pin. Rolling them on around to this side, we can see that we've got a standard pocket clip, a 3-screw design just like on many other knives. We have a lanyard hole. The one in the Ganzo is slightly bigger, but both lanyard holes are kind of small in my opinion. You can get 550 paracord through them, but it's a bit of a hassle. You've got to really kind of squeeze it in there. Now these pocket clips, as far as positions, the Ganzo is tip up, left or right hand. The Ontario Rat, tip up, tip down, left or right. As we get into the numbers a little bit, that's where we start to see some differences. The Ganzo is 4.73 inches long closed. The Rat is 5 inches long closed. Our thickness is the same for both knives at 0.5. Height, they differ a little bit. The Ganzo is a little shorter at 1.42, with the Rat being at 1.5 inches. Whenever we get them open, we still have some slightly dissimilar measurements. The full open length of the Rat 1 is 8 9/16, and the Ganzo is 8 3/16. So about a little over a ½ inch difference in overall length. And our blades are very, very close to the same. The Ganzo is about 0.2 inches shorter, and the Ganzo's cutting edge is about 0.1 inches shorter. And as you can see, the blade designs are very, very much the same. Full flat ground, same bellies on both of them. The only difference with the blade is the Ganzo claims to be 440C and the Rat is AUS 8. And that's kind of a give or take thing there. The AUS 8 that Ontario uses is hardened to about 56 HRC, which is a bit soft. The Ganzo with 440C, they claim, I believe it's 58, and I do believe that it is harder than the AUS 8. However, as we've talked about many times, AUS 8 holds an edge pretty darn good, and it gives you the opportunity to sharpen it on just about any abrasive. I shouldn't say sharpen, to strop it back up on just about anything. Like this piece of leather we're laying on here, you could easily strop that thing back sharp, or at least to a working edge, quickly. The Ganzo being a little harder, you may not get to do that, so it's a trade-off deal. And moving on with the numbers, our stock thickness for the blades are pretty much even at about 0.12. Another place they differ is weight. The Ganzo is 4.41 ounces, and the Ontario Rat is 4.98 ounces. So, in continuing the theme, the Rat is a heavier knife, heavier duty knife, designed for harder use. Whenever we talk about action, the Ganzo I have here works pretty good. The Ontario Rat is better. Now, you do have a liner lock on the Ontario Rat, and that's something that I suppose we should talk about. We have a McHenry & Williams or Axis Lock clone on the Ganzo, although it is not exactly an Axis lock whenever you take it apart. Works on the same principles, but some of the stuff is shaped different inside. Now, whenever these things come out of the box, they do not work like this one. I've had this knife apart, I've tweaked the springs and a few other things to make it work as well as it does. So if you're expecting to be able to get it out of the box and work it like that, it's not going to happen. If you're willing to dig into the knife and do a little tweaking, sure, you can get it there. But it's still not like a Benchmade, not even close. Similar principle, but whenever you put it in your hands and use it, there are several things that just keep it from being there. The Rat, on the other hand, it just does what rats do. These things are just awesome right out of the box. And just like a Benchmade and just like Ganzo has tried to do with their 727M, the Rat 1 is very lefty friendly. Like I said in the review of the Rat 1, the shape of the handle in this area is very similar on both sides. On the non-lock side, the liner and handle are a little deeper to give you access to the lock. But because of the way they're cut, it's really easy to manipulate this thing with your left hand. You know, even for a confused person like me, I'm not really a lefty. I'm just confused. I use both hands. So you may be asking yourself, if they're so similar, why wouldn't I get the one with the Axis style lock and just do the tweaking and make it easier to use? Well, there's some other things that go along with this. The Ganzo is a lighter duty knife than the Rat 1. It's obvious in every way. Whenever you pick it up, whenever you put it in your hand, it's very easy. Even if you were blind, you could tell which knife was in which hand. And it comes down to fit and finish. The Ganzo handles aren't rounded as well. On our Rat, the handle material is rounded all the way around. Gives it a nice feel. With the Ganzo, it is chamfered, but it is not rounded, and it's obvious whenever you put it in your hand. It doesn't have that warm, cozy feeling that the Rat does. Another major difference between the two knives is going to be your hardware quality. The screws used on the Rat series of knives are of very good quality. Fairly high hardness. They're going to hold together. What I've seen out of the Ganzo knives, and I guess I've had this one apart, but I haven't had a problem with it yet. One of the other Ganzo knives I had, as soon as I tried to take it apart, I stripped a screw out. Not a T6 bit or whatever size bit it was, but the screw. I rarely ever have that happen. Normally it's the bit that gets twisted or stripped out whenever I'm trying to take apart a new knife. So this hardware is of a softer material, and I don't know, that may mean something to you, it may not. To me it's important because I'm going to take apart my knives every once in a while and clean them up, oil them, get the gunk out, and I want to be able to know that I can get them apart and put them back together without any issues. Well guys, what do you think? Rat 1 or Ganzo 727M? I'm going with the Rat 1 for a couple of reasons. First, the Rat 1 is the original design. It's a dang good design. Works well, works smooth. Secondly, the AUS-8 steel. That AUS-8 steel, I've said it several times, but I'm going to say it again. You can sharpen that stuff or strop that stuff up on just about anything slightly abrasive. And that's worth something to me. The supposed 440C in this knife, it's a little harder. I know that because I've sharpened it and used it. So I don't know if I could do it that way as easily as I could the AUS-8. In fact, I doubt I could. I know a lot of you out there are saying, but that Ganzo has an Axis lock. Well, it's not really an Axis lock. You take it apart and get a good look at it. It's very similar to an Axis lock, but it's not exactly. And if you expect the Ganzo you pick up to work like the one I'm using right here, I guarantee you it's not going to happen. Whenever these things arrive, those springs are very, very tight. It's hard to flick the knife open, and it's hard to close the knife. It's hard to pull these things back. It's partially because your little knobs here to grab a hold of don't stick out as far as they do on a Benchmade. And the springs as well. So, if you live in the US or Europe, and where you live, the price difference between these two knives is $5 to $10. In my opinion, it's worth waiting another week or two, or maybe even 3, to go ahead and get the Ontario Rat 1 over the Ganzo. However, if you live in one of those places where this Rat 1 is going to cost you the equivalent of $60 or $70 US, and this Ganzo knife is going to cost you the equivalent of $10 or $15 US, then by all means get the Ganzo. It's not a bad knife. It's just not up to Rat 1 quality. For the rest of us though, we have to consider that Ganzo has copied. I'm not going to say that they photocopied, but they copied the Rat 1's design. And then they went and copied the McHenry and Williams lock design, or axis lock. And, you know, that axis lock, as far as I know, is still under patent. And I'm sure that the Rat 1 design is still under patent. So, that $5 or $10, do you really want to give it to the company that is blatantly ripping off designs and mechanisms from the companies that we want to stay in business? I don't think so. I don't think it is a good idea to do that. Anyhow, overall, the Ganzo is not a bad knife. But for the money you spend here, you could buy one of the bird knives. Spyderco's quality control over those bird knives is exceptional. I haven't had a bad one yet, so you might want to look into those before you lay your money down on this Ganzo knife. And like I said before, this one's only a few dollars more, and it's a lot better knife. Anyhow, I'm not going to go on any further. I could get into a deep rant on this. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to hit me up on those social media links and like, share, and be sure to subscribe. And have a great day, and I'll see you next time.